Is this your first time keeping guppies, or maybe you're just thinking about keeping them for the first time? I think we have something to talk about. Guppy fish are popular in the aquarium hobby for a reason. There's endless combinations of tail types and color variation that sometimes it's hard to see the same guppy twice. But guppies, one of the major perks to keeping them is that they do well in a vast range of water parameters and a long list of tank mates. But one of the first things you can do to set yourself up to be a really great guppy keeper is just to know why you wish to keep them. Do you want to colony breed them, line breed them, keep them in a really cool, relaxing community tank? The first thing you should do when keeping guppies is just keep in mind why you want to keep them. And then there's tank size. How many can you keep in an aquarium at one time? Guppy fish, they don't get very large. They only reach a couple of inches in size, and they do reach maturity in about 6 months. Individually, they don't produce very much bioload, but you do need to account for the waste they do produce and give them enough space. If you want to add more guppies to your aquarium, you need to have more surface area in your tank for your beneficial bacteria to attach to. You want to have more guppies, you need to have more beneficial bacteria. But again, if this is your first time keeping guppies, I do not recommend going any smaller than a 10-gallon aquarium. Keep in mind, guppy fish are prolific breeders. You will have fry soon, and you need to keep that extra bioload in the back of your mind. When it comes to stocking your guppy tank, it is important to pay attention to the ratio of males to females. If at all possible, try to get a trio, which is at least 2 females to every male. I personally like to get a trio plus an extra female if at all possible. The males are the ones that are typically more beautiful. They have the bright colors. They do have a slightly slimmer body. And generally speaking, even though you can find really pretty females now, the females are the ones that are a little bit more brownish, dull in color, but they do typically have a wider body. But it is important to try to keep the stress levels down in your guppy tank, especially if you wish to keep the fry. So try, if at all possible, to get more females than males for your guppy tank. Guppy fish typically live 1 to 5 years. When you pick them up at the fish store or you buy them online, you often have no idea how old they are when you bring them home and put them into your aquarium. The one thing I will have to say, the guppies that will live the longest for you are the ones that you will see born into your aquarium. But oftentimes you do lose a few guppies when you bring them home from the fish store. And to help solve this problem, try to buy them from someone that you trust locally or your fish club. But just try to make sure that you're buying guppies that do have the best genetics that you can possibly. Another topic to discuss is substrate. When it comes to substrate, honestly, your guppies don't care what substrate you put in their aquarium. The one thing that does matter when keeping guppy fish is the live plant. To put in some substrate that's going to be beneficial to growing live plants, because these live plants not only supply hiding spaces for your future fry that you will see, but it supplies places of relief for your females. And if you want to breed guppies, having this relief for your females in your fry is really important. And not only does it supply these safe spaces for the females in your fry to go, but it helps with your nitrogen cycle. And water quality is something that you need to keep in mind when keeping guppies. They are easy to keep, but you do need to have good water quality when keeping them. So live plants, again, is the one thing that you should add to your tank that is greatly beneficial to the overall care of your guppy fish. Since we are talking substrate, it doesn't matter if you wish to have a gravel substrate, a sand substrate, or even a combination of both. But the one perk about keeping substrate in your guppy aquarium is all the extra surface area that it does allow for your beneficial bacteria to attach, and it does help with the live plants, giving them something to root down into. But again, there's nothing wrong with having no substrate and having a bare bottom guppy tank. You can always add floating plants like guppy grass. There are some plants that I have added in my guppy fish tanks over the years that I have had great success with. This bronze crypt in this 10-gallon tank is a great addition. Also, Vallisneria does fantastic in my water. This dwarf sage in this aquarium is a great addition to any guppy fish tank. Also, Anubis, you don't even have to plant it in substrate. You just simply attach it to driftwood. And also bare bottom tanks. You cannot go wrong. I mentioned it before, guppy grass, or you can float some water wisteria simply at the top of your guppy fish tank for a little while, and they do great as live plants to any aquarium. Remember, guppy fish do well in a wide range of water parameters, and even I've tested the boundaries a little bit, keeping them a little too cold and a little too warm, and it will slightly affect the life cycle of your guppy fish if you choose to keep them in warmer water. However, I feel like the ideal water parameters when it comes to keeping guppy fish is keeping your pH between a 6.8 and an 8.0. However, most of the time the tap water's pH that comes out of the tap is perfectly fine for your guppies. When it comes to the hardness of your water, guppy fish, they can survive in softer water, but the added minerals of harder water makes it way easier to keep guppy fish. And for the temperature, I like to keep them between 72 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I feel like personally for my fry, they do well between 74 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, I would not chase numbers. I would keep it simple and just acclimate your guppy fish to the water that you have personally. And the main thing, the bonus tip to caring for guppies is just keep it consistent. Don't chase numbers again. Keep it consistent and avoid fluctuations if you can at all costs. Good water quality, no matter if you're keeping guppies or another fish, supplying good water quality is going to be the #1 part of telling if your aquarium is going to be successful or not. You cannot expect to have a healthy, happy guppy tank if you do not have good water quality. And an important aspect of that is filtration and circulation. And only you are going to be able to experiment and see which filter is going to work for you. I personally like to use sponge filters and hang on the back. I think sponge filters work great for fry, but I do have a lot of fun modifying my hang on the back filters to supply the aquarium with extra surface area for beneficial bacteria. The only thing with hang on the backs you do have to worry about is making sure your guppies and your fry cannot go through the inlet of your filter. But you're going to have to find that balance of really good filtration and circulation without having your guppies swimming in a tornado. And only you can have fun experimenting with the flow rate of your aquarium. But having good water quality for your guppies is #1. You cannot expect to have them grow up healthy, happy, and colorful if they don't have a healthy, clean home to live in. So filtration and circulation and water quality, if you want to have a successful guppy tank, is the one thing you do really need to pay attention to. When it comes to water changing your guppy tank, you will research and you will find the answer. More often than not, it depends. And that is true. It really does depend on your tank. And the only way that your aquarium will tell you when you need to maintenance it is by testing your water and getting to know that aquarium. Each aquarium is going to be individual. They are not the same. So you have to get to know your aquarium, and it really will give you the answer to your maintenance schedule, because there's no magical time of every 2 weeks or once a month. Sum up water changes the best way I know how, the simplest way I know how. If you're questioning whether you should do a water change or not, it's never a bad idea. It's never going to hurt anything to do a water change. And if anything, it will help remineralize your water. But it's okay to perform a water change anywhere between 10 and 30 parts per million of nitrate. You just don't want to go over 40 parts per million. And you want to keep the ammonia and nitrite levels down to a 0. And the only way you can get rid of nitrate levels is to perform a water change. If you have a lightly stocked, low bioload guppy tank with lots of live plants, it's going to make things a lot easier and you're not going to have to do water changes as often. But if you have a bare bottom, highly stocked, overfed guppy tank, you're going to be doing water changes all the time. So when it comes to water changing your guppy tank, it really does depend. It depends on testing your water and getting to know each tank individually, because only that tank will give you the answer in the schedule you're looking for. Keep in mind, guppy fish are omnivores. They do need a little bit of animal and veggie protein in their diet. I personally like to feed veggie rounds and bug bites, but there's not a food the guppies in my fish room don't turn down. I also like to feed frozen food like baby brine shrimp and bloodworms as a treat, like once a month or so. But the main thing to keep in mind if you want healthy, happy guppy fish, if you feed them once a day or twice a day, just don't overfeed them. Feed them what they will eat in about 30 seconds to a minute. The worst thing you can do to your guppy fish tank, honestly, is overfeed and let that food rot at the bottom of your tank. If you found this video helpful and you want to learn more about how to care for guppies, check out my website, sciencegalaquatics.com. Pick up your copy of my book today, all about guppy fish, the ultimate care guide. But I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy!